Oh, chat, what a ride that was! Dear daughter, dear goodness. That is actually going to be it for my time here at Corathon as your host. It has been an honor being invited here to help raise money for Cora getting out of Texas, and for a wonderful example of the community coming together for trans rights. I'm going to be leaving you in the fantastic hands of someone you've heard earlier today, the wonderful Joker, and they will be taking care of you, so please give it up for them as we head on into our next block of the night.
Thank you so much, Zokabun. It's fantastic to hear from you again. And hey, you know, it's kind of that bounce back and forth. I got to hand it off to you earlier. You get to hand it back off to me here. And it's been a fantastic night. We're going to keep the party rolling here. We've got thearst3rd coming in with our FEZ any percent run here in just a few moments. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and touch on again here a couple things for Corathon, exactly why we are here. Corathon is a mutual aid fundraiser. It's raising money for Cora. Cora is a friend of the community who is looking to move to a place who will accept her for who she is. And due to the anti-trans legislation in the state of Texas, Cora needs help with moving expenses so she can safely move to a state with LGBTQ+ friendly laws and communities. We're putting on this marathon to support and provide for a trans friend in need, and we're so grateful for any donations you can provide to help. Please type !donate in the chat in order to donate. We do have a few options here to donate. You can donate through our GoFundMe campaign that we have linked through that command in chat, or you can donate directly to Cora's Venmo as an alternate option in order to avoid any GoFundMe fees through the command in chat. Whichever option you feel most comfortable with, we'll have something available for everyone to donate to an amazing cause. And speaking of those donations, we do have some incentives that have yet to be met. We did meet the Sonic Sprite replacement here for this upcoming FEZ run, which is fantastic. I cannot wait to see it. However, we still do have one incentive for this FEZ run to be met. That is the bonus 0% run. It is a very, very quick run, but it is also a little bit unhinged, so to speak. It's something that you're definitely going to want to see. Once we can get into that. That is a $50 donation incentive. So anytime you want to donate here during the run for FEZ, just please make sure to notate either in the comments of your donation or in the chat itself that you want to put your donation towards that incentive so we can get that run met. We also do have a Liminal Ranger incentive here. That is the new run the run that's being swapped in here for Osmorn. He's going to be running that shortly after this FEZ run, and it is an upgrade to the True Ending. I've seen a bunch of Osmorn's runs. They are so fantastic. Liminal Ranger is another one of those that's going to be a fantastic run. It's a $15 goal here, so that's going to be very, very easy to meet. We do have some other donation incentives for tomorrow, including a Spyro Reignited Color Bid War, the Stardew Valley Adopt a Pet donation incentive, a file name bid war for The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. There's the Boss Rush incentive that actually looks like it has been met for Metroid Dread, so excuse me on that one. But then finally we do have the World Ends With You Final Remix. That is a soundtrack bid war. You'll want to get in and get your money in for that to see and listen to the various soundtracks that we do have available. Let me see and take a look here. We have raised just under $3,500 here for Cora altogether. This is fantastic to make sure that we can get her out to a better place, to make sure that she can get in and be able to live a good life and live the life that she wants to live and she deserves to live without having to worry about those the anti-trans legislation and just the community down in Texas that's not exactly very friendly. So let's keep going, keep pushing, making sure that we can get as much as we can here to help her out and keep her moving. Looks like we're just about getting ready to get set up here for thearst3rd. So we'll give it just a few more moments as we wait and make sure that we can get him in and get everything up and running for this FEZ any percent run. It's going to be a blast. All right, we are all set here and ready to go. We have thearst3rd here getting ready to run this FEZ any percent run. And thearst, go ahead and take it away. Let's see what we've got in store here.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is thearst3rd, and with me commentating I have Joker TYF.
How's it going, guys?
And it's very good that he's with me here today because I actually just came from a concert. I went to a concert tonight, but when Osborne says, "Hey, will you be available this night to participate in a speedrun marathon?" the answer is yes. So I am here, and I'm going to be playing FEZ any percent for you.
Hopefully, I'll be the one doing most of the talking, so
yeah,
get some much rest for that.
Now you might notice it says hat and not FEZ. That's because there's a mod that lets you play as Sonic, and that was a donation incentive that was met. So thank you all so much for donating towards that. We're gonna go ahead and get started, and you guys will see Sonic pretty soon. But yeah, so I'll go ahead. This game starts up with a little bit of cutscene, so I'll just go ahead and get started, and we'll explain sort of how this game works right at the start. So time will start in 3, 2, 1, go.
And we're off.
We are off. So this is FEZ. It is a game that looks like it's a 2D platforming game, but the whole gimmick is that it's actually a 3-dimensional game, and once we acquire the titular FEZ, you will unlock sort of the ability to rotate your perspective of the world and view it from different 3D perspectives. But at any given point, you're sort of acting like a 2D platformer. So it's a really interesting game mechanic and allows for cool platforming and some cool puzzles.
So the goal of this game is to collect 32 what the game calls cubes. So there's 32 golden cubes and there are 32 anti-cubes. So you really only need to complete half the content of this game to quote-unquote beat it. So by all means, if this game looks interesting to you, please go ahead and purchase it and play it for yourself, because you're not even seeing half of the game in the speedrun, and it's a little bit less than half for some reasons that we'll explain later.
Mm-hmm. So this will be the first time. So new discoveries have been made that since the last time this game has even been showed off at a marathon, and the amount of extra cubes that we get that we're not really supposed to be able to get has gone up to 5. So even though, like we said, we're collecting 32 cubes, we're actually not even supposed to be able to get 5 of the ones that we're going to get. So it's even less than half of the game. So again, this game is so good, play it casually. But what is going on here?
Yeah, so this is, to be honest, I don't think anyone knows what's going on in this cutscene.
Absolutely no one understands this except maybe the developers. But here we're talking to this hexahedron, and it is where we are unlocking the FEZ. By the way, you might remember that we mentioned that there's the Sonic donation incentive, which was met, but we don't see Sonic yet. What? Why do we not see Sonic? Don't worry, we'll be seeing Sonic very soon. Which is very fitting that this run came right after the Sonic block.
Oh yeah, I didn't even realize that until now. That's very...
Yeah, and I was informed that was on purpose.
Awesome.
And... oh my gosh, it's Sonic! Let's go!
So yeah, now the hexahedron's like, your rotate perspective, I don't like that. And it's gonna spew all the golden cubes and anti-cubes throughout the game world so that we can collect them and beat the game. But before that happens, what's happening with your computer?
Oh no, my technical difficulties. Oh, I just crashed. My whole computer just crashed. It's rebooting. Oh, no, just kidding.
That's a weird BIOS you have there.
Yeah, that's how it is. All right, so this game is really good. It's a puzzle game, and a lot of the sort of solutions to this puzzle game are by pressing a certain sequence of inputs on your controller. I'm going to enter one just because it's funny, but because of route changes, I'm actually not going to collect it. And I should mention, if you want to not get spoiled, yeah, we're going to try to spoil as little as possible. But yeah, go ahead and play this game casually.
Yeah, and to be honest, like, you can watch a speedrun of this and still not know how any of this works, so, yeah. I mean, don't,
But look, shocking observation, this village is actually in 3D. It's not 2D, it's 3D. Whoa, that's really cool.
If you have a really sharp eye, you'll notice that it's not technically the same village. They made the second house on the right just a bit tall, like tall enough that you can't just jump on top of it like you could earlier. And that's basically to force new players to actually use the rotation mechanic.
So there, I'm entering in a secret code, just spawning these cubes. And for the puzzle, for the speedrun, we get most of our cubes through these anti-cubes, which you get by solving puzzles. Because as a speedrunner, obviously we know all of the puzzle solutions ahead of time, so we can get all of them very, very fast.
It's much faster to press 8 buttons than it is to do, you know, a highly precise series of jumps very fast.
Yeah.
So here we're going to do our first speedrun trick, which is called an animation skip. If we press the interact button when we have 2 overlapping collectibles, we'll skip the animation for collecting the second one. And you may not think that it's a very important thing to do. I mean, it does save a couple seconds. But what it really allows for is a more complicated trick down the line.
Yep, and you'll see that coming up. So here I'm going to do another sort of weird-looking trick where I'm going to sort of climb... Oops, that's in the wrong order. I'm going to climb this tower sort of from the reverse. So you can see Sanez. Oh, by the way, I should mention that the character's name is, well, it's normally Gomez, but now, of course, here, since it's Sonic, it's Sanez. And you can see I sort of climbed that tower from the back, which looks a little weird, and it has to do with another mechanic, which we'll explain shortly, called perspective teleportation. But basically, it lets you take a quicker line, a shorter path through space, which saves just a little bit of time in that space, in that spot.
Yeah, basically the way it works is that if you're behind the level and you're in the air, the game will push you as far back as you can go. And so if you're in between 2 walls, it'll like push you, it'll clip you through the wall to the farthest point that it can possibly push you, which allows for some pretty cool movement.
Yeah, and you'll see a lot more of that coming up in this next room, which is the bell tower. Let me get that. And in this bell tower, you're going to see tons and tons of perspective teleportations. Again, it's a little hard to understand. It took me a while to get it while learning the speedrun. But just observe here. Boom. And I'll do it a few more times. You can see I sort of teleport to the other side of the level. And it looks a little weird, but... yeah, it's a speedrun tech that saves a lot of time in a lot of places.
Yeah, I mean, when you're watching this for the first time, you don't even know that you're going to the wrong side of the level. It's only like when you try and recreate the jumps that you're doing that you're like, hold on, wait a second, how did you go from here to here?
Now this level is on a cycle, and I did make a little mistake earlier, but actually, I still made the same cycle, so no big deal there. Quite a few of the rooms in this game are on little cycles. Like this one was because of those oscillating platforms. When they're at their furthest away point, you can't jump between them, so you gotta wait for them to line up.
Some more perspective warps here.
Some more perspective jank. This puzzle, we solve it in a little bit of a weird way. If I take this cube and I toss it at the other cube, rotate and rotate back. If you're very observant, you might have noticed that one of those blocks actually changed locations. I don't know if anyone really knows why that happens, but because it changes locations, it allows you to sort of assemble this shape that you're supposed to assemble just a little bit faster. It is pretty convenient.
So that's a classic perspective warp. You can see how we just jumped from one side of the level to the other, leveraging that mechanic.
And there's tons and tons of tiny little perspective optimizations to the game. So here I'm just going to turn left, and basically instead of walking from those vines over to the right all the way to the left into the door, I can rotate the my view of the level, and it basically collapses the entire plane into one small plane. And that lets me make it a little faster, and that's an important part of the routing of this game.
This room is a lot of quick perspective warps over and over, with a cool trick at the end that you may have noticed earlier in the run. It turns out that when Gomez is dead, he can still do a fair amount of things, and one of those things that he can do...
Sanez.
Okay, well, one of the things Sanez can do is open doors, which is pretty helpful in some situations, like this one, where we're going to collect this cube, woo, and then fall to our deaths, but actually, psych, we just go through the door instead.
That's very funny. That's called a fall cancel, because we cancel our fall animation.
So coming up is probably the one of the hardest tricks to explain in the entire game. I'll do my best. But anyway, so you know how I was talking about animation skips earlier? Well, it turns out if you're in the state where you have 8 cube bits, which normally would just give you a golden cube, it turns out that if you perform an animation skip with the second item being an anti-cube, you collect that second anti-cube twice, and you still have your 8 bits. So in essence, you get a free anti-cube.
Alright.
Let's see if we can pull it off.
Boom, we got it.
Yeah, so
and that gives me an extra cube.
Notice that Sana still has 8 bits here, so we call this an 8-bit anti-cube, because we get the 8-bit cube in the next room. But yeah, that's the first of 3 that we'll be doing in this run.
Yup, we get quite a few now. The route changes have been pretty big. By the way, I don't think this has been mentioned yet, but there is a donation incentive. I know it wasn't meant when I started this, but there's a donation incentive to do a bonus 0% run, which is a very funny run. You should all consider donating to see that, because it basically, you know, this is any percent, but you can actually beat the game way faster than what I'm doing by doing a glitch that skips the entire game. You beat it with 0%. So consider donating to see that, because it's very funny.
Yeah, you may notice that we jumped on some invisible platforms. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
You'll figure out where those are by exploring the game world. But of course, we already know where they are, so we can just hop on them as we so please.
Whoop. Okay, that's fine. This next room has a pretty tricky cycle. I'm not super good at it, but let's see if I can get it. There's some oscillating platforms right at the end, and if I do the room quite well, I should be able to make it.
This room used to be a lot tighter before the 8 back routes, because we had to get a whole extra bit. But now we skipped one of them.
Oh, well, I fell down, so probably not gonna get it this time. That's alright.
I believe...
We'll see. We'll see. Nah, I didn't quite make it. These are a little too far apart. But, sorry, just one cycle. That's like a few seconds.
Yeah, only like one person in the world was able to get that cycle before the bit was skipped. And so we call it Wilco cycle, since the guy's name was Wilco.
Yeah. And he's the current world record holder in any percent. and some other categories.
And the thing is, his world record doesn't even have 2 of the latest time saves that were found in the route.
I think it does now. I think you got all this. But anyways, here. So this is a little funny thing about this room is normally I use the FEZ as a visual cue, but with the Sonic mod, I actually don't have that visual cue, so I kind of have to use muscle memory to line up where the FEZ would be with something in the background. So just kind of a little fun fact about that level. Alright, that was pretty good.
Nice.
This room is one of the... I'd say that room, learning how to bounce on those mushrooms is pretty tricky, like learning the right pattern to do those. Sometimes you think it doesn't really matter if you rotate left or right, right? Because they kind of collapse the level in the same way. But sometimes it actually does matter because of Sanez's velocity and making sure that he's in the right sort of plane if he's behind the tree or in front of the tree. So choosing whether or not to rotate right or left actually does matter in a lot of cases. And that mushroom room is one of those rooms where it matters.
So we got a map there, and you may be wondering, hey, if you already know where all the secrets are, why do you need maps? Well, it turns out you actually need to physically have that map in order to collect the cube that is associated with it.
Yeah, so we go out of way to make sure we have the map. This next room, casually, it took me a very long time to figure out this puzzle. But here in a speedrun, I know the answer, so I assemble it very fast. And coming up after this is another 8-bit anti-cube.
In
And it's a little
conjunction
special.
with another trick. So there are 2 codes in this game. Like, usually the puzzles in this game, you get a code, you need to enter it in a specific, like, room. But there are 2 codes in this game where that's not the case. You can enter them anywhere. And it turns out, if you enter both of them in the same room and collect both of them, you can leave the room and then enter the second one again and get a free cube. And this has been in the code since the very beginning. You don't even need to do an 8-back to actually, you know, activate the glitch. It's just been there
Here
forever.
I spawned a lot of cubes just now, and I'm getting a bit. And if I get every single thing at once, boom, that should give me 2 extra cubes. Neither of them I actually get right now. One of them I'm going to get after I leave this door. So right when I spawn here, you're going to see I'm going to get an extra golden cube. But then later in the run, I'm going to be able to enter the same cube that I already entered. And that's another extra cube. So this game has had a lot of glitches discovered lately. Let's see if I can get this mid-air jump.
We do the same thing in this next room. This room shares a code with another room earlier on in the game. So you can't enter it when you first enter the room. You gotta go out and come back in, and somehow that resets it enough that you can enter the code. So that is the 4th out of 5 duplicated cubes.
Yeah, there's quite a few now. Yeah, I grab this bit.
Tell you what, this is impressive, and all of the geometric changing and the perspective changing it's trippy, but also very impressive at the same time to remember and know where everything is turning and where you're going from there.
Absolutely. Yeah, if there are any donations, now is a great time. We're just going to be climbing this for a little bit.
Well, unfortunately, we don't have any donations currently, but as mentioned earlier, and as I mentioned here before the run, we do have a donation incentive available for that 0% FEZ run, which we do really want to see. I'm already enjoying this run so far, and I would love to see that 0% run. It is a $50 goal here, so let's see if we can make it happen. You've got, looks like about 10 minutes potentially. before the end of the run, so let's try to get that in and make it happen here. And if you want to donate, you can just use that !donate command in the chat, and it'll allow you to donate through the GoFundMe campaign or directly to Cora's Venmo to avoid the GoFundMe fees. Just make sure that you're typing in the comments that you want your donation to go towards that 0% run or any of the other incentives that we do have available for the rest of the marathon, and we'll make sure to add that in and get those taken care of.
For sure. It's a pretty funny run. And it's for a great cause. Whoops, I kind of messed this up a little bit. So, these little, I don't even know what they're called. I always forget. They're like blocks that go together. They can launch you pretty high. And if you time it just right, you can actually make it all the way from the block and collect the cube without touching the ground, which I actually learned like recently. I don't know if I've ever done that before. It's very satisfying.
I think they're called crushers.
Crushers, yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, because if you don't rotate, then they will crush you.
Yep, they will crush you. Alright, so we're coming up on, we're getting close to the end of the run here.
This is the last
Oh, I got black holes. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So do you want to explain black holes?
Yeah, so black holes are, as they say, black holes. If you touch them, you die. They spawn in predictable places, but random chance. So as you collect more cubes, the greater the likelihood that they will spawn. And the one we saw back there is actually one of the maybe like 2 or 3 levels in the game where spawning black holes actually loses time. A lot of the time, it's just like, you know, somewhere where it doesn't really affect the speedrun route, but that's one of the unfortunate cases.
But yeah, even if they spawn, it's like just a few seconds. Which, if you're on world record pace, that might matter, but for marathon, it doesn't matter. Uh-oh, I might not get this ladder cycle. Dang it.
No, yeah.
These ladders are kind of annoying. But if you make them, it's like another, you know, 5 seconds or so, 4 to 5 seconds.
And big shout out to Disaster Piece for this banging OST, I will say.
Absolutely. Every single piece on the entire OST is a banger. So go listen. Go play this game. Go listen to the soundtrack. It's so good. So in this room, I'm supposed to sort of pivot this little thing to line these 2 ladders up. But actually, oh, I actually jumped a little too early. But if I jump in front of it and then rotate, you can see I sort of jump from one side where the ladder is to the other. And that's faster than manually sitting there and pressing the crank to make the ladders line up. So there's some interesting tricks like that. And previously, for many years before some of the more recent tricks were discovered, in between leaving this door and entering this door, we would actually go into another area just to grab 1 cube and sit through an entire 50-second long cutscene just to... the cutscene's not 50 seconds, the segment's about 50 seconds. But now we can just skip straight to this door. But the cost of that now is there's a trick that I can do right here that if I mess it up, well, I would say the run ends, but I mean, for a marathon, I'll just have to go back and sit through that cutscene that I don't want to have to sit through. So there's one more 8 back, and I'd say it's got the weirdest setup, so hopefully I get that here.
It's a combination of like, it's a tight area to move around in, and also one of the codes is like the longest code in the game, and you need to like actually time it, so I'll shut up and let thearst figure this out.
Okay, we should be good.
Yeah, that spawn location looks good.
Cool, we got it. And so that should be...
Cube number 32.
32 cubes!
Now you can open up that door we saw earlier. Wow, this door... It was funnier in old speedruns when Dot would say like, "Wow, we got 32 cubes. Now we can open up that door that you've seen, which we haven't seen."
We have not seen it.
And then later it'd be like, "Wow,
But
this door
now
takes
we
32
can see
cubes
it.
to open." What a
But yeah, so
coincidence!
now
We have 32 cubes.
Now we have about a minute worth of cutscene. So, you know, it's a good time to chill. And one thing, I didn't actually mention this, but typically you don't want to do extra rotations because anytime you rotate, it kind of pauses the world for just a little bit, like half a second. And so you only want to rotate as many times as you have to in order to do the route. This one room, as far as I know, maybe there's a few other places, is kind of the exception that when you're doing a rotation, it actually just doesn't matter. The timer keeps going, at least the timer to open up that Stargate. So I just like to mess around in that room, do a bunch of extra rotations just because it's fun.
But in this room, this is on a different planet and gravity is different. And one of the things you can learn in physics is that to simulate low gravity, you can also just scale down time. And so that's what the developers did. Every single animation in this room takes like a constant factor longer to do. So that includes rotations.
Much longer.
That includes ledge get up animations, which are already, if you have a ledge get up animation in the regular game, that's a second loss. So we want to minimize all animations in this room as much as we can, and that especially goes for rotations. So if we can get this without doing any rotations, that's called turnless, and it is a very hard trick, but very satisfying.
Nice. Looking good so far.
I think we got
That
it.
is turnless.
Nice.
That's very nice. Always good to pull off turnless at a marathon.
Have
So
you done
that's
turnless in a
basically
marathon
FEZ.
before?
I don't know. I can't recall. I
Oh,
don't
look,
know
it's
if I've ever pulled it
Tails!
off. And now it's Tails! It's Tails instead of Sonic! That's very funny. So time doesn't end yet. We have about a minute until time ends. It will end the moment that I walk out of the door in my in the next room that comes right after this. Here you can see the 32 cubes I got being assembled into the cube. Although it's, as we stated earlier, there's actually 64 cubes you can get. So this is only 32 of them. There's more to this game, so if you're looking at this and you think this looks fun, go out and play this game. It's very fun. Oh no, my computer crashed again. What? No,
2 times in one day? Bro, you gotta get your
No.
motherboard checked.
True. Alright, anyways, time is gonna be in about 15 seconds from here. This is a very dramatic zoom in on the final room in the game. And time. That is time. And I do have control of my character, but only for a little bit. So that's FEZ. It's a really fun game. Go play it. And then after playing it, and I want to emphasize, after playing it casually, join the speedrun community because it's a fun place. And there's new discoveries happening all the time. Hopefully we can push this time even lower. I don't know if there's anything else for me to say. So I'm super happy to be here. Joker 2AF, do you have anything?
Nothing from me, except to say, before 8-backs were discovered, the most optimized this record got was 2643, and now it's 2430. So
Yeah,
that just gives you,
yeah,
that gives you a little bit of insight into how much has changed in this game over the course of like less than a year.
And this ending cutscene is also really cool. I will say I have the one question, the big question: did the 0% donation incentive get met?
Take one last check here through, and unfortunately, it does not look like that 0% run got met.
That is okay. That's all right. We still got we still got a donation incentive met, which is the Sonic skin. So thank you so much for donating for that. With that case, I am thearst3rd. It was a pleasure to be on tonight, and yeah, that's about it from me.
All right, and thearst, just in case, where can people find you? Do you stream often,
yes.
or social media? Where can we find you?
Yes, so best place to find me is on Twitch at twitch.tv/thearst3rd. Should be the same as what's written there. You can find me there. You can find me on YouTube as well. I post VODs of my speedruns and such. I've been speedrunning FEZ. I've also been speedrunning Marble Blast. Anyone who's heard of Marble Blast, really good game. I've been speedrunning that as well. So that's where you can find me.
Fantastic. And Joker TYF, do you have anything you would like to plug here before we let y'all go?
Sure. I also speedrun this game occasionally at my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/JokerTYF. I also have been, working on a randomizer for this game. So I don't know. Perhaps in the future, if you come by my stream, you'll find me and thearst doing some races.
Yeah, it's very fun. It's very fun.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much here for joining us for Corathon and presenting this wonderful game. It's definitely something that has been blowing my mind, and I think I'm going to definitely look into it myself to pick up eventually, because it does look like a lot of fun. Thank you again for showcasing this and for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And on that note, we're going to go ahead and get ourselves ready for our next run. Again, it is going to be, I believe it is going to be Osmorn joining us here with a run of Liminal Ranger. We're going to take just a few minutes here, take a very quick break and get everything set up. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Corathon in just a moment.